Hi everybody, it's Dana Brigman from the Canine Coach. Spending a little time with you today talking about the Feelings Kit. This is a collection of essential oils that are targeted at helping us reach the limbic system and deal with feelings that may be, I don't know what's going on with my hair, deal with feelings that may be holding us back in some way that we may need to release, move forward, feelings perhaps that we don't even know we have because we've somehow buried them or somehow chosen to ignore them. So just like you and I have feelings that are stored in our limbic system, our animals have feelings and emotions as well. And they can start to create some issues for our well-being. And in many cases with our dogs, we consider when they have a behavioral problem that we need to take on more training or we need to do more obedience or whatever. And we don't often take a step back and say, is there an emotional root to this? What is the origin of this and where is it manifested in the body? So our dogs go through a couple of imprint phases when they are less than 9 weeks old. It happens as part of that early development period while they're still with the mother, while they're in the litter. And a lot of their temperament, if you will, a lot of their emotional way of responding to stimulus or things can be imprinted at that time. Certainly, we can also have a situation where a trauma, an experience, something has caused a new way of response, a new way of being. And what can happen to our dogs is, just like us, we don't deal with it. We don't help them move forward or move out of it. And they literally get stuck in a state of mind and start repeating patterns of behavior that then become their new normal. We really need to figure out how to help address what might be going on. So when people tell me, that's just who he is, he was a rescue or he was in a trauma or he was left behind, he was abused, he was whatever, those stories don't have to be the future. Certainly they are a contributing factor, but they don't have to be the new normal for that dog. We often accept things as they are rather than looking to see if there's something that we can do to address it. So we know that stress in the body can cause all sorts of dis-ease, right? It can create behaviors like we're talking about. And stress can come from a couple of different sources. It can be a physical source, meaning we can have an injury, a physical trauma, an illness, something that has, caused a physical damage to the body in some way. We can have a chemical stressor. These can be everything from vaccines to cleaning products or environmental things around us. And of course, this emotional stress, which is, again, really what this Feelings Kit is targeted at. So if we don't deal with these stressors, we can have situations that we are not living our best lives. Our dogs are, again, stuck in these patterns. These patterns become habits, and eventually this is the dog's life. So if we don't take a step back and look at it and say, what would he be without that? Right? What would I as a human be if I weren't holding on to all of these things and try to deal with it? Then we may not be living our best life. we may be creating, a situation that stress stays in the body and creates dis-ease. And we may even be contributing to shorter lives for our pets or ourselves. So stress is something really important to deal with. We often, as humans, don't want to do that. We don't want to face that. I just give you an example. A few weeks ago, I did the protocol for freedom sleep and freedom release. And I was actually a little apprehensive. I'm like, I don't know what's going to be there, right? I don't know what's going to happen. So our dogs can't tell us that they are feeling a certain way, but we can look at them and know that that there's a level of anxiety, there's a level of fear, there's a level of insecurity, maybe even a level of grief or loss or frustration, right? It's all present. And we need to figure out what to do about it. Many trainers, and I was one, right? Back in the day when I was just doing Great Dane Rescue, yeah, I did some essential oils or some flower essences or whatever for stress and transition and that sort of thing, but never really understood this depth of there being a root to these issues. But a lot of trainers are going to try to train the dog out of a behavior. We're going to try to create a new behavior that's incompatible with the old behavior. And what we might be missing is dealing with the root cause, or recognizing that there's an emotional root that has triggered a physical issue. Or, that you've heard me say this before, that fear lives in the kidneys, fear and anxiety live in the kidneys, aggression and anger live in the liver. We have other emotions that live in the pancreas or in the heart or in the gallbladder, right? So it's all systems of the body. It includes our autonomic nervous system, and all of these affect everything about us. So as we move into this, we're going to talk about what each of the essential oils are, why they were selected as part of this process or this protocol of trying to release emotions, and where you apply them. Now, what can you expect when you do this? Hard to say, right? The dog can't tell us, hey, I had a bad dream, or these new feelings are surfacing, or I feel like crying, right? All that may happen to you as you do it. And, you're going to be exposed to these essential oils as much as your dog is. And I encourage you to think about, as you're applying them to the dog, also apply them to yourself at the same time, in the same sort of meditative moments that you'll be doing these protocols. But we can look for them to have perhaps more movement while they're sleeping, which may indicate some type of dream. And they may have a need to have a little more quiet time or a little more separation. They may find moments of joy. You may see a dog that's suddenly acting more joyful, more playful, more youthful, right? So just be observant about those things. Also recognize that many dogs will not release. They will be very stoic if you are present, or if you are, if you have a multi-household of other animals. They may want a quiet place, and they'll hold on to it until they have a little bit of privacy, so to speak. So you might not actually even witness it. If you do, it's actually a pretty amazing thing. The horse that we saw in my training that I've told you about was a big, powerful emotional release. Hey, y'all stop. a big, powerful emotional release, and it was amazing to witness. I also want you to recognize that it might not happen day one, right? That just, a lot of people, I think, sometimes think that a lot of people sometimes think, enough, that they put some oil in the diffuser, or they put an oil on the animal or on themselves, and magic didn't happen. Sometimes it works where one is enough, one aromatic experience is enough to reach that limbic system. I mean, it reaches every time, but you may not be ready to actually release and experience those things. And so that's why this protocol is really a 30-day protocol. And a lot of people will stop short. A lot of people will give up, about a couple of weeks in, or they'll be like, oh, as an individual, as a human, I feel better, or I've had a release and I don't have to continue this. And so we really want you to think about doing it for a longer period of time. Okay. And then think about doing this more on a cyclical, maybe a couple of times a year, once a year kind of thing. Or if something new surfaces, some sort of new experience that you need to feel like you need to cope with it in some way, then bring the kit back out. Okay. So let's talk about the oils that are in this kit, what they do, their purpose really, and where you apply them. So in the starter, or in the feelings kit, is Valor essential oil, Harmony, Forgiveness, Release, Present Time, and Inner Child. And I'm going to go through the order that you use them, why, and where they're applied. So Valor's first. Valor is an oil that is all about confidence and courage. It is one that will help balance energy. It will balance energy of an individual, sort of bring things back into alignment, and it will balance energies between beings. So you and the animal to which you are applying this, you want to have your energies in alignment when you're working. So this oil is first in starting to create alignment. Emotions that go along with this oil, meaning, let me rephrase that. This essential oil will help address emotions that are in the categories of aggression, defensiveness, a fear of conflict, an inability to cope, losing a battle, feeling resigned, and feeling withdrawn. These emotions can be manifested in our adrenal cortex, in the stomach, in our white blood cells, in our in the diaphragm, in the pineal gland. We know aggression has said to live in the liver, right? So if we are trying to move on the other side of those emotions, we are looking for respect, to feel respected, to be receptive to feel more confident, to feel more courageous, and to just have sort of a peace and a clarity about things. When we apply an essential oil with these types of protocols, we want to have an intention, right? What is it that we are trying to help facilitate? Now, I use that because I don't want you to think you can command or demand that this animal or yourself do anything, right? Right? So we're not trying to put an oil on and go out, down spot, right? That's not what we're trying to do. But our intention is to bring an openness, an opportunity for the limbic system and the body to do what it's designed to do, and using these essential oils to help facilitate that. So when we meditate on these essential oils, right? So you're going to apply them and you're going to set a positivity type statement, a manifest type statement, or a meditative statement. The one that goes with valor in this situation is around I am courage, or I am courageous. I am confident. I am powerful. I am power. And I am strength. Right? So put it in a positive terms of I am. In the case of us working with an animal, you may need to say you are or we are. And what I do is you are animal, I am for myself, and we are together. And I sort of repeat those as a internal mantra in my head as I'm working on the application of that oil and spending just a moment on that area of the body with that meditative thought. So valor is applied to really sort of the head, so the crown, the atlas of the head. And you would just put it on your hands. And what I do with each of the oils is let the dog smell the cap first, right? You don't want to put a whole bottle of essential oil right under their nose. That's going to be way too overwhelming for their olfactories. But I'll put it on me and let them smell, or hold out the cap first and then apply it to me. And then it goes, really, I put it on the atlas of their head and then sort of just move down to their shoulders. If they are facing me, then I'll cross hands so that I have right hand to right shoulder, left hand to left shoulder. And we'll pause and breathe and meditate there for a moment, right? You should, if you are really thinking about this, feel energy around you and feel that start to shift, okay? Then we apply valor to the feet. And we're going to apply valor to each of the 4 feet. Okay. Our next oil that we bring in will be Harmony. So I have used bottles and bottles of Harmony in training. So think about it as the essential oil you would want to bring in when you're introducing a new dog into the household, when dogs may not be as compatible as we like. Maybe they're a little attitudinal with each other, and we're trying to bring harmonious attitudes into the environment, right? So Harmony is an uplifting oil. It's helpful to dissipate discord, to help balance, if you will, the internal struggle of masculinity and femininity, to bring those energies into alignment. It is about being harmonious with others, whether that's dog and human, dog and dog, human and human. So all those relationships. It can help reduce stress, amplify well-being. I mentioned the dissipate feelings of discord, and be uplifting to the mind and help achieve a positive attitude. Emotions that go with this can be feeling ignored, feeling like your spirit has been crushed, feelings of hostility, fear of punishment, beating oneself up, being stubborn, okay? This can manifest itself in our brain, in the reproductive systems, and in our stomach. Now, I've said this many, many times. For all of our rescue dogs, they're spayed and neutered. So oftentimes we won't know that there could or would be an issue in the reproductive system because they don't have one, right? So just be aware of that. Our statement is I am harmony or I am balance. And we apply harmony to the heart. So I start there as my first application. So I'll put it on my hand and then I'll apply it to the heart of either myself or the animal or both. And from there, I'm going to apply harmony to all 7 chakras. So starting at the crown, the third eye, the throat, the heart, the solar plexus, the sacral, and the root. So typically, if you have a dog that is more energetic, more boisterous, more woo-woo, right? Start head and go down towards the ground in a grounding way. If they are shut down and we need to bring them up, then think about starting at the root chakra and working your way back to the crown, okay? So that's about thinking about the energy flow. What is it we're trying to do with energy flow? Okay, so harmony goes on heart, of course, and chakras. Our third oil is forgiveness. Now, many of you can come to understand what that is right away, right? So, forgiveness is about releasing hurt, releasing negative emotions, releasing negative memories, allowing us to move from the past and break through emotional barriers, to forgive and to let go. Emotions that we may be observed related to this would be irritability, feeling betrayed, feeling untrusting, repeating patterns of the past, feeling the need for revenge, feeling self-denial. Now, again, these are human words, right? But you can look at animals and see how that often translates. It would manifest itself in the pancreas, in the uterus or the prostate, in the gallbladder, or what we call the qi of our Chinese medicine stuff, right? The other side of that is becoming one who does trust, finding one's integrity, for example. The statement that we would use in our mantra is, I am forgiven, or I am forgiving, or I am forgiveness. Okay? This is applied to one's belly button, right? So if we think about our chakras, we say that the solar plexus is just above the belly button and the sacral is just below. We're going to put forgiveness right on the belly button. Well, this can get a little tricky depending on how your dog's laying around and you feel like you have to manipulate them, right? But ideally, just have them standing up if you can, or laying on one side, and then all of this becomes easier. I will say this, when we're doing this, it's better if they lay on their right side so that you have access to the heart itself for applying harmony, okay? We are going to apply one to the liver, so that, of course, is the right side, and so they may potentially have to move. All right, so we're on forgiveness, which is the third oil in our protocol. We move then to release. So again, think about what that looks like, right? Release, let it go, sing the song, right? It is about releasing anger, releasing memories, releasing trauma, or what some people may call an insult to the liver, for example. It helps open the subconscious mind through the pineal stimulation and release deep-seated traumas. It is truly one of the most powerful emotional oils in terms of releasing and coming out of a stuck pattern. I don't know where I got this note, but I like it. You've ever seen the dogs that sort of keep their ears constantly pinned back, right? They're like always a little bit stressed. it's great for those animals in general. Emotions associated with this can be feeling dejected, having a fear of becoming more successful. So, what does that mean in terms of a dog, right? Or in terms of us? I can relate to this a little bit because I mean, even when it comes to like making videos, it's like I'm a little hesitant, right? Just a little hesitant to put them out there. And then you often think, well, what's going to happen if my business blows up, right? And I mean that in a good way. It becomes crazy busy and really successful. That then is brought with a lot of other potential things, right? And so we often can be a little bit afraid of changing from what we now call normal to something new, to something different, right? So just be aware of that. The throat chakra in that trachea area is where we often find this. It can be associated with feeling like love is conditional. It can be associated with being rebellious or feeling like nothing we ever do is right. And I've seen dogs that look like that, right? You look at them and they think, no matter which way I move, no matter what I do, I've screwed up. Okay, so release is good for that particular area. Where this may be manifested, I mentioned the trachea, the large intestine, in the urinary tract, for example, our eyes, the brain, occipital ridge, and then in our crown chakra, in our seventh chakra. Okay. The other side of all of that is just spontaneous joy. So, right, if we get this right, if we release all this, we will find more joy. The meditative statement that we want to have here is I am free, I am freedom, and I've let go, or I let go. After release, we move to present time. So again, think about what that name conjures up in your head. It is about being here in this moment, right? In the right now, not whatever used to be. It's said that disease develops when we live with regret and we live in the past. So if we can move ourselves to this moment in time, we then have more opportunity to move forward. Emotions here can be feeling very frustrated, very flustered, loss, malice, repressed or stuffed down emotions, being taken for granted, or very resistant to change. These manifest in viruses, in the jaw, in the heart, in gums and teeth, in the rectum, and in the colon. The opposite side of that is feeling very steady, very grounded, very right now. The what's the word? The statement, the manifesting statement, the meditative statement, that's what I'm looking for, is I am present, I am now, I'm right now. And then we move to inner child. So inner child is when we've had an abuse, right? It can lead us to feeling very disconnected from ourselves or who we were as a child, that inner child, that feeling of hope and joy and sort of frolic, and that's, being playful. We can get really disconnected and separated from that. These things can create fractures in the personality and create problems that surface in our early adult and middle age years, right? So this can happen to our young dogs as well, that I've said many, many times, that dog does not know how to dog. He does not know how to dog, right? And so this is a great oil to help address that. The emotions here can be about a distortion of things, right? That we see things and we believe things that aren't what they really are. We have an erratic energy. And what we really need to do here is clear cellular memory. So our cells, the cells of our body, are said to retain everything. Your mind might not remember it actively, right? You might not be able to find it and just go, yeah, I remember that moment. I remember that time. I remember those things. But the cells of the body hold on to all of those memories. And so essential oils can help to reset that, to release those cellular memories and reset those emotions and reset those patterns. So inner child is a great one for that. When we look at where these things can be manifested, it can be in our DNA. It can be in our nervous system. It can be in something called the duodenum, which is part of the digestive tract. So what's the other side look like? It looks like freedom. It looks like innocence. It looks like joy. It looks like we have found our inner guide, that we're back on track to who we were always meant to be. The meditative statement here is, I am young, I am new, and I am fresh. We apply this on the third eye, so on the forehead. So I would apply it again to my hand and then sort of put it on the dog's forehead. You'll often see me like this with a dog or myself. And so front to back, and really meditate into that moment. Breathe into that moment with each of these oils as you're applying and where you're applying it. Think about that meditative statement, that manifestation statement, and breathing with your dog, just trying to bring that energy. Remember, you can't command or demand change, but you can breathe energy together and allow those things to happen. So we've got, let me see, how many oils was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 oils. And it's just a drop of each, at least once a day. Some for the humans, we often do it twice a day. For the dog, I usually just do it once, and do it every day for 30 days. And then give them some quiet time. Give them a chance to just go and decompress, debrief, be with themselves for a little bit. Don't demand too much else from them. Don't demand a ton of training. You guys know me. I'm a big fan of training. But I've learned and I've seen so many powerful results with dogs where we start working with this sort of thing and allow the body and the mind and the energetics of things like essential oils to influence those animals or ourselves, and some real powerful things can happen. And then training becomes much easier, much more sustainable, and so on. So again, I started this by saying I want you to step back and look at the animal from an emotional point of view, and not just a, hey, how do we train him out of a behavior that has an emotional root? I think you have to work them in tandem. You certainly can do this independent of any training at all, but you know, there's definitely some powerful results when we start working the energetics of all of those pieces together after we've done our protocol here. So I hope that's helpful, that you get a little insight to what each of the oils are, why we use it, where we apply it, and trying to really think about making this a meditative and a bonding kind of experience for you and the dog. And again, apply these to yourself. This kit was created for the people. We've just adjusted using it for the animals. So I've done this on dogs. I've done this on horses. Can't say that I've done it on a cat. Cats aren't my thing. And I think if you were going to do that, I would want you to do a little bit more research with some of the cat-friendly veterinarians and folks that are specializing in cats. But you would definitely want to dilute those oils pretty significantly. So anyway, hope this is helpful. If you have questions or if you use them, right, if you get this and you start to use it, I would love, love, love to hear some feedback on your experiences and where it takes your dog. Okay, talk to you guys soon.